Although one critique.
Oh no. All right, go
At
ahead.
the beginning,
I'm very fragile today. I just
I
thought
know.
like
Well, I know.
I found
The
out
music-
yesterday. Yeah, I think just yesterday. Day before yesterday. Does it matter? No, not at all.
but wait, we need to know. We need to know.
2:00 Wednesday. But well, that's 1:19, right?
Yeah.
I was looking into that, trying to figure out how we're going to divide it. We have to have a serious conversation. That's Welcome to Pondering Psalms. We are pondering Psalm 101 this week. Dave Mullins, my good friend, is there on one side of me, and on the other side of him is me, Kurt Austin, and we're glad that you have joined us for another exciting episode of pondering this psalm. Dave, what did you think? It was just okay for you? You didn't do...
No, I love this. I love it. And I think we just celebrated New Year's. Today, we're actually recording this on January 8th. And I was reading through this and I'm thinking, what a wonderful psalm for the first part of the year.
Same thing. It's like, okay, well,
goodness.
This is one of those psalms that you could read. This is, people are talking about their word of the year. People talk about that. You've not heard of that?
No.
So you get a word for the year that's maybe like compassionate, and so you're going to be more compassionate this year, or successful, or whatever it is, introspective.
I know my word. I just came up with it. Survival. It's my word for the year. It ended up being my word for last year too, but I think it's good enough that I might need it this year as well.
So this is my psalm for the year. This is an amazing psalm. I don't remember it from when we read it a few years ago. Yeah.
Well, and that's why we continue to read. Let me go back to our big screen. See, there we go. That's why we continue to read, because we tend to forget things. And just because you read the Psalms once doesn't mean that you got it down.
Well, and maybe it meant more this time because it was kind of a first of a year. And so in my head, I'm thinking, what can I do to be a bigger, better person or something like that. But there is no doubt that this, and I think the other thing that really jumped off the page to me was that this is a different type of psalm, not a unicorn necessarily,
right?
But it's definitely a person who is saying, this is my resolution.
Yeah.
This is what I'm going to do to make my life align better with God.
Right. Right. And one of the things I'll say at the first is it's pretty, I guess the common thought is that this is a psalm of a king.
Yeah.
Which I think is pretty cool. Yeah. Because you're thinking, how would our world be different if all of the rulers, this was their hope and this was their goal for their lives?
Yeah. But it certainly can be applied personally.
Oh yes, definitely.
Let's say you're the king or queen of your own household or of your own domain, whatever that might be.
I have a throne.
Do you? Yeah. Yes, I'm sure you do. I've got a couple. So you have this and you read through it and you think, oh wow, all right, well,
yeah,
this is something I should take seriously.
Yeah, and I love the way it starts out. It starts out with recognition and praise. I will sing of your love and justice. Love and justice. And it's so cool because we've seen this before. Justice and righteousness, love and justice. Two things that are important that they're together. Because sometimes you've got love, and you let the justice slide. And then sometimes on the other side, people have a strong sense of justice, but there isn't a lot of love or compassion. And God is able to balance both perfectly. And so no wonder he sings songs of praise to God.
But so this is where it then diverges from what you would think of as a standard psalm narrative, where you have this, it goes from this, this is what I will do, God, you are so great, and so I'm going to worship you. But then it goes into, and here's my response to that.
Yes.
This is what I will then do, God. And I really, really like that.
Yeah.
And let alone the challenge that he puts before anybody who wants to try and do this. It's
Yeah.
huge.
The one little caveat here, or the one little thing that I still kind of wrestle with is he says, I will be careful to live a blameless life. When will you come to help me? Which usually are in the laments. When are you going to come? How long, O Lord? And so, I've been trying to come to terms with how those two lines kind of come together. Is it
Did
the
you
fact that I
did
need you in order to do this?
right. Yeah. So that was going to be my question. Did you feel that it was a cry of lament, or did you feel, I mean, like, it's not a how long will it be till you come, but I need you alongside me to make this happen.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of where I'm going to land. I know some commentators kind of mentioned that this does have some lament qualities, but to me, it just seems like recognizing that on my own, left to my own devices, I am not going to be able to live up to
Yeah.
my desires on
Yeah.
how I want to be.
I mean, I can't live a blameless life on my own. I just
No.
can't.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
cannot do it. And so to say this is what I'm going to strive for, um, but then not to acknowledge that I need God to help me do that is ignorant at best, foolhardy, more likely. So you have to say, well, this is my goal, but I can't do it unless you're right there beside me.
Yeah. Yeah. And I kind of want to, I don't know how long it's going to take us to go through all these, but I kind of want to go through these I wills uh, kind of up front, and then we can kind of dive back into them. So I will leave a life of integrity in my own home. I will refuse to look at anything vile or vulgar. Oh my goodness. In the culture that we live in, trying to live that
Well,
out.
that's what jumped off at me, Dave. Is that this is a guy writing this 3,000 years ago, say,
Yeah.
give or take a week, and and what in the world did he have to look at that was vile or vulgar compared to what is all around us?
Yeah, I don't know. Sometimes I see references and things were different, but they were the same at the same time.
Well, yes, you're right. You're
You
right.
know.
I mean, humanity has not changed.
Yeah, yeah,
It's
and
just we created film and
right.
magazines, and I mean, so yeah,
Yeah.
okay.
I hate all who deal crookedly. I will have nothing to do with them. I will reject perverse ideas and stay away from every evil. I will not tolerate people who slander their neighbors. I will not endure conceit and pride. And again, this reads a little differently when you're thinking a king or a world leader is saying it, but it still has some pretty sharp teeth when we say that we're going to live that out.
Even more so because it's not so like we'll go back there, verse 5. I just want to read it, then we'll blow back up. I will not tolerate people who slander their neighbors. I will
Yeah,
not endure conceit and pride. All right,
yeah,
so those folks don't have any space for them.
yeah,
What if I'm one of those folks? What if I'm the one slandering my neighbor? What if I'm the one who's conceitful and full of pride? Ooh.
you mean the one who's actually saying this? Yeah.
No, I mean, yeah, if I'm reading this and I go, "Well, I'm not gonna stand for that." Oh, wait,
Oh,
I'm
yeah,
the guy who just badmouthed my neighbor,
yeah,
yesterday, and now what do I do about that? I mean, not let alone tolerating somebody else who's just kinda putting other people down. But
yeah,
if I'm the guy doing that, well, you gotta start there first.
yes,
I've gotta deal with my own crud before I can, what is it? The I need to take the plank out of my own eye before I
yeah,
worry about somebody else's splinter.
yeah,
Um,
yeah, yeah. So I mean, these are all good things. They're also hard things.
yeah.
And yeah, you're right, Kurt. It's one thing to say I hate all who deal crookedly. I will reject perverse ideas, stay away from every evil. Wait, let me ask a practical question. Where does Facebook fall into this? As
I've
as we're as we're putting this on Facebook.
So
There's no answer.
I've come to I've come to a decision in the last couple of months that for me, I'm not looking at Facebook as a everyone's invited to the party.
Okay.
That if I was hosting a party in my house, let's say to celebrate our anniversary,
Yeah.
or let's say my son's birthday, I wouldn't send an open invitation to everyone in Noblesville. Just wouldn't.
Yeah. Probably not.
I would be selective on
Yeah.
who I wanted us to celebrate that moment with. And so for me, Facebook, in at least on my personal page, doesn't have to be an open door policy
Right.
to everyone. And that doesn't mean that I'm selectively choosing only the people who agree with me, or because I've got lots of friends on Facebook. I'm very popular, Dave.
I know you are.
Have to
You
tell you, I just
Yeah.
it's just exhausting to be so popular. But
It is
at the
hard.
same time, you don't have to love everybody's opinion, and you don't have
Yeah.
to align with everybody. But it doesn't mean that you hate them. It
Yeah.
just means that I want to be able to connect with my family. I want to connect with people that I consider good friends.
You said, when if I have a party in my house, I don't have to invite everyone, but is it fair to say that when we scroll through Facebook, we're actually inviting people to the party in our heads?
Yep.
And
That's why I'm not friends with everybody.
yeah, and I kind of take a different route than you. I I have people ask me friend requests. I usually say yes if I know them or they're actually connected to someone else who I know. Um, eh, but I don't go through and read their stuff. I,
Yeah.
I hate to say that. I go on
Oh,
Facebook to deal with communities that I'm involved in. Maybe I continue to try to learn Spanish, and so I'm part of a Spanish group. But sometimes I don't even go in and look at that stuff. Uh, and so I use it more, to try to encourage folks because
right.
there are a lot of different ideas. I don't know if I'd say they're perverse, but there are a lot of different ideas, and I am inviting them into my headspace. And I don't want Facebook to cause me to think evil of someone, and I don't want Facebook to cause me to be depressed about me or someone that I know. And so I find the easiest way is not to go in there and scroll through and read it as a source of entertainment or distraction.
Well, and then verse 5, I think one of the real issues with uh, social media of all kinds
Yeah.
is there's lots of slandering going on, and it's a place where we tolerate it, we let it happen. Now, um, you don't have to then put a post on there saying stop being mean every time
Yeah.
you see something. But if you're not looking at it, then you're not engaging it, and you're not being a part of it. So I mean, we're kind of on a side conversation about
Yeah.
social media because it can happen anywhere. It's on TV, it's on radio, it's you're talking to your neighbors who have very different opinions than you, and things can kind of get, at least in my neighborhood. I love my neighborhood. I love where I live,
You do.
but we have
I know you do.
a lot of diverse opinions
Yeah.
that are freely shared in our neighborhood, and sometimes it takes this form,
Yeah.
which is unfortunate,
Yeah.
and whether I tolerate it or not. So verses 1 through 5, what a challenge, what
Yes.
a call.
Yes.
But then there's this pivot beginning in verse 6.
Yeah.
So I actually wrote in my Bible, because he's saying, I will not, I will not, I will
Yeah.
not, 1 through 5. And then I wrote in between 5 and 6, but
Yes.
instead, I will search for faithful people to be my companions.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Only those who are above reproach.
And again, this is a king, a leader, and just imagine if all of our leaders took the same approach
Yeah.
to say, I'm not going to tolerate this stuff, but I am going to find faithful people above reproach. I will not allow deceivers to serve in my house, and liars will not stay in my presence. My daily task will be to, I love this, ferret out
Ferret out.
the wicked and
Yeah.
free the city of the Lord from their grip. Oh my goodness. And you're right, Kurt. If I'm going to say I'm not going to do these things over here, I
Mhm.
need to make sure that I'm not that kind of person. If I'm going to say I'm going to do these things over here, guess what? That's the kind of person I need to be.
And I'll tell you, this is the thing that I came to as I was reading it this week is that I have a limited amount of time in my life. It is a finite resource.
And it is getting shorter every moment.
I was just talking about a 24-hour day, but now,
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
now that you bring that up, but yeah, you've got a limited amount of time
Yeah.
every day.
Yeah.
And how is it you're spending that time? Because you cannot dive into verses 6 through 8. Uh, you can't do all of those things successfully if you are instead spending all your times in verses 2 through 5.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
certainly you need to be doing verse 1.
Yeah.
Yeah, verse 1 and 2. But if you're spending time hanging out with people who are vile, if you're spending time with people who slander, if you're looking at terrible things, then that's just every moment that you're doing that, you're taking time away from the opportunities to search for companions that are faithful,
Yeah.
to build those relationships.
And I think that's so important. And we talked a little bit about Facebook and social media. That's just a medium.
Yeah, yeah,
It's not good or bad. It's how we approach it and how we use it. And I think, and I don't know how we got. I know I brought up the whole social media thing because it's like
did you?
that's for a lot of folks that's part of our lives. And how are we going to live out Psalm 101 if we're scrolling through and starting fights or stuff like that when we can kind of instead maybe find some faithful companions.
Yeah.
uh
Which I love, and I think Psalm 1 or Pondering Psalms has given us an opportunity because we've been doing this kind of enough that we're starting to get some engagement with folks who are saying, thank you for posting this,
yeah.
or I really like what you guys are thinking about here. And it's not just about it, it's the community that
Yes.
is engaging one another to be able to say, I had never thought about it that way. That is really insightful. I love the way that turned out. And that takes us more towards verses 6, 7, and
Yeah.
8, and exactly what it is that this psalmist is saying, this is what we need to be doing.
Hey, I want to throw something out. Is
Oh
that okay?
no.
I throw
Yeah,
something out to the
let's pause
folks.
let's pause just for a minute in case we need to edit it.
Uh,
What do you want to throw out?
we'll fix it in post.
Mhm.
uh find a faithful companion.
Yes.
Maybe it's someone at church. I mean, if you're watching this, maybe you're a part of a church.
Yeah.
I know it takes some courage to say, hey, you know what, I really want to change some of the trajectories in my life. And so find someone, because Kurt, I've known you for, I think, since the late 40s. And you have been just a faithful friend and companion. And we started doing this because we talk about stuff like this. I mean, like every week anyway. And so it's been great to have that companion on the journey, and I have grown so much
Yeah.
because of it. And if you're part of a community of faith at church, yes. If there's someone at work that that might be open to that, say, hey, why don't we do this?
Yeah.
And we'll talk or chat or text. I mean, we do all of that. We're on, Kurt, sometimes it's like, okay, are you going to text me? Are you going to email me? Are you going to use Discord? Are you going to call me? How are we connecting this time? And but
Says the guy who started all of those technologies in my life. I was happy with one of them.
so, but there are so many ways to connect, and I encourage you to do that because sometimes when we focus on the negative, what we don't want to do, that can be very, very hard. But when we actually focus on what we do want to do, it slowly takes the place, and we realize, you know what, I don't need to spend
Right.
45 minutes
Yeah.
on Facebook
Yeah.
because I've got this thing over here going on. And like you said, Kurt, we only have so many hours in the day. Why don't we use it on things that encourage us and help us to grow and help us to become more in line with what God has created us to be?
And to
And
be honest, I think there's, if you hope as you read these passages that every person's going to have something that speaks directly to them,
yeah,
right? Whatever that is. For I would hope that if you're looking at it and going, well, I don't know. I mean, I don't have problems with that. I would hope verse 6
yeah,
would
yeah,
that you would meditate on that and think, okay, God, what does that look like in my life?
yeah.
How do I find those people, and what do they look like?
Yeah, and Kurt, I have to say you're above reproach, and that's why I allow you to sit with me.
Well, I tell you, I am trying to get there.
Yeah, you're doing a great
Not,
job.
I'm not above reproach, but I'm trying to
Yeah,
get there.
yeah.
And I think that's the reality, is that you're not going to find anybody who's perfect, folks.
No, no, but we can move towards something.
Yeah.
I was talking to someone about John Wesley's Christian perfection, and they're
Mhm.
like, I don't know about that because we're supposed to say, are you moving toward perfection?
Perfection.
And what he meant by that was being perfected in love, not in actions or not making any mistakes.
Right.
And they said, well, I don't know if I can say that. And I said, well, if you're not moving on to perfection, what are you moving on to?
Yeah, you're going some direction.
Yeah. And so that's the question. What are you moving on to or toward? And that's where I really think that this psalm comes into play.
I love it. I'm so glad we read this psalm.
Oh, I know. I know.
All right, we are at the end of our time now.
I
It
know.
went really fast. It was beautiful.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I think next week we go to 102, a little longer, right? And by the way, we're counting down to Psalm 119.
Because we have no idea.
We don't know what we're doing yet. We don't know.
I think it's 176 verses.
So I read today or I read earlier this week, I was trying to process how we're going to do this, that they're broken up into different stanzas.
Yeah.
And each stanza is represented by the letter of the Hebrew alphabet.
Yeah.
Which I didn't know that before. And
Okay.
I learned that. So how many letters are in the Hebrew alphabet?
I think there's 26.
26.
Yeah.
I think there are 26. And then there are eight verses in each of those stanzas, so that you do the math, and it's a lot. And getting through it's going to be tricky.
Yeah.
So we may divide it up into multiples, but we're counting down. We're getting really excited about that.
Yeah.
And what that looks like. Okay, maybe not excited. We're terrified about it.
How are we going to do this?
Look.
All right.
All right. Well, thank you very much for joining us this week. I hope that something has burrowed into your heart, into your soul, and kind of driven you to move closer to God and move closer to a companion who can help you along that journey. Can't say enough how important that is.
Yeah.
So join us again in a few days. Unless you're watching this from years from now, then you can watch it, right after this. Just stream it right after that. But we will be back in about a week, and we'll bring you Psalm 102. And in the meantime, God bless you. Have a great week.
I'm taking over.
Good. You should. You should jump in there and say, okay, this is what I
Here
want
we
to share.
go. Say, welcome to Pondering Psalms. We're pondering Psalm 101.
Welcome to Pondering Psalm. We're pondering Psalm 101. You've got Dub's disease.
All right. So.
All righty. Welcome to Pondering Psalms, part of our Pondering Passages project.
Good job. That was good.
Think about just keep going with alliteration. We're poaching potatoes.
For passionate professors.
Pickling their potatoes.
Yeah.
All right, here we go. Take 2.